Hi, everybody. It's Lily here, and you're listening to part one of Howzat the Cricket Podcast 1 Year Special.
You messed about, I caught you out. How's that?
Now, it's safe to say that this is not just another episode, is it? This is it's a bit of a special one, to say the least. Now, this is one whole year of Howzat the Cricket Podcast, the 17th, as this is released. Literally exactly one whole year since the first episode. The first episode was released on the 17th of January 2022. And what a year it's been. It's been pretty amazing.
It has been an amazing year, and obviously I haven't been a part of that whole year, but to be along for the ride has been a lot of fun for the past 6 months or so. I assume 6-7 months, whatever it's been a lot of fun. And obviously you've done a lot of work. Obviously, I guess that you started this, to build your portfolio, and it's grown past that. It's grown to something where we can both, share our love of cricket, talk to professional cricketers, fly over to Adelaide, me fly over to Adelaide to watch games, you fly over to Melbourne, go to Moe to watch games. It's grown more than just a podcast. It's been, it's been a lot of fun. It's been an avenue where we can just talk about cricket, and me, bully you a little bit for how bad the strikers are against the Stars, whatever it may be. But in terms of the podcast itself, we've spoken to some people that I guess I never would have thought that, we'd have the privilege of speaking to. You've got, Dizzy Gillespie of all people. You've spoken to Kate Cross. It's crazy what it's become, and it's been a lot of fun to be part of.
Yeah, and I know it sounds pretty samey and you've heard it all before, but genuinely going back to this time last year, starting this podcast obviously with Josh, who helped me get it up and running, and I'm obviously very thankful. So shout out to Josh for getting Howzat off his feet. But starting this podcast, I guess having a spur of the moment thought, going, this could be fun. Let's just give it a crack. It will give me something to talk about. Not thinking anybody would listen to it, but just thinking this could be a really good way to just express my thoughts. And if people did want to listen to it, they could. But then I guess for that, like you said, to develop into what it is now is something I never, ever would have imagined. Being able to speak to, like you said, some of the world's best has been something else. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of what's happened. I'm pretty proud of how it's gone. And like I said, I couldn't actually have imagined anything better. And it's pretty mental to think that the people that we're chatting to are wanting to chat to us. And we've built quite a good reputation in terms of, the people we've had on and people who listen and everything like that. It's pretty amazing. And yeah, something that I'm very, very, very happy with, and a little product that has turned into something pretty incredible. I'm very, very glad to run and be a part of.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. It's been a lot of fun, and we've actually gone back. Before we start getting too emotional, the pair of us, we're actually going to have some interviews for everybody today. We've got not one, not two. We've got multiple interviews. We've got 4. Yeah, we do have 4, not 3. We have 4 interviews, which is absolutely wonderful. We've got Ella Hayward, which sadly I wasn't able to make. We've got Sarah Coyte. We've got Georgia Redmayne, and we have got the very first Howzat interviewee in Maisy Gibson. So, absolutely wonderful to get those guests back on. They were all a lot of fun to speak to again. So shout out to all of those 4. They've been, part of the cornerstone really of Howzat, and, the real, the podcast legends. I mean, everybody's a legend who we speak to, don't get me wrong, but the ones who we really look back and just thought like, wow, you've really, helped make Howzat something special. So it was great to have those on, but we hope you enjoy it, given that there is so many interviewees.
Yeah, and like you said, those 4, especially Maisy, they hold a very special place in our hearts, because Sarah, Maisy, and Ella were obviously some of the very first interviews we had on the podcast. And then, once their teammates and the like saw them on, they were like, yeah, we can get involved as well. So it's super exciting that they were willing to help us make this into something. And obviously Georgia being a little bit different, she wasn't one of the first, but she was a big fan favorite, but also our first interview together, which was super fun and wonderful to chat to her again, as well as the others. So just so everybody's aware, this is part 1 of our 1 year special. We speak to Maisy Gibson and Sarah Coyte, and part 2 will follow with Ella Hayward and Georgia Redmayne. We thought we'd just split the 4 interviews up a little bit, just to give them all their own little segments. And just to break it up a bit, I guess we'll go one by one. We'll start off with Maisy. So yeah, like we said, Maisy, our very, very first interviewee we had on the podcast. And a lot has happened in the year since this time last year. So have a listen and listen into what Maisy has been doing over the past year. Now, first of all, this is a very, very special chat because you were obviously the very first interview that we ever did for the podcast. And almost a year later, it's really, really brilliant to have you back. So yeah, first of all, thank you for jumping back on. And you've got the claim of being the very first one. So thank you so much for rejoining us today. It's amazing of you. So thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
So now last time we spoke, it was February. So quite a bit's happened since then for you. A title, semi-finals in the Big Bash. So if we can go right back to round about February, what's happened since then? How have you been? How have you been with your cricket? Because it was an injury recovery that was when we last
story of my life. February. Well, I don't know if we still had WNCL rounds to play or if we were heading into the final. So we played in the WNCL final against South Australia, and was fortunate enough to win it, which was amazing to be a part of. It's the first title that the female team down here has won either in Hurricanes or in WNCL. So just a really, really special moment, and to kind of see all the hard work like that Sal at the time as our head coach had put into the team. Like, she picked up her life and moved it down here for that job, and kind of to see all the hard work and all the planning come off in that was amazing. And like, I still don't think it's sunk in yet, because obviously like I'm still playing, and it's something that I guess like we've moved on from that in a sense of like, okay, we're back and we're hungry again, back at WNCL, and we want to win again. So I think it's kind of like we've parked it. But I think like kind of when I look back on my career, eventually when I retire, it's going to be something that's going to be outrageously special to me. And then went on a break, had 6 weeks off, just had some fun, had a holiday, all the things kept running and things like that. And then came back to pre-season, which is like, that's never fun, and then went to Perth for some practice matches for WNCL. So we're kind of straight back into it by getting over to Perth in September. Was really nice. Nice to see the sun, because it's always a bit colder in Tassie and you get some nice warm days, but it's not kind of warm all year round. And then we were straight back into WNCL. I missed the first 2 rounds with a quad strain tear thing, just a bit of a niggle. Was kind of touch and go coming back anyway, because I had a stress reaction in my foot. So I was trying to do everything I can to get back and play, but it just kind of didn't work out. Had a change of head coach. Oh my goodness, a lot's happened when I think about it. So Sally Ann Beams is now our high performance manager at Cricket Tas, which is really exciting and a really cool role for her to take on. And I think she's doing a great job so far, and really special. Like, I don't know, I'm really proud of her, if that sounds weird, but like, it's amazing to see her kind of flourish in this environment. So we had Dan Marsh as head coach for the WBBL, which was amazing. I love Dan. He has also now since moved on and is the Australian assistant coach. And then after Big Bash, we kind of played through that. It's the first time we've made finals since WBBL 02, I think. So it was pretty cool to kind of see the progression of the team, and I think we've got something building here. Hopefully we can keep a group of players, because obviously I feel in franchise cricket it's really hard to keep the core group of players, especially like when you have internationals come in and the international series that are played on during Big Bash, and like who is available, who isn't. I think it's really hard, but I think we've got a good core group of domestic players, and then our internationals are added bonuses. So that was really cool to also be a part of, because I guess missing 2 seasons of Big Bash, it was really nice to come back into and kind of be a part of that progression forward. And then after Big Bash, had another little holiday, had a week off, which was nice, especially after the chaotic schedule that we had. I think we had 6 games in 9 days or something. So it was pretty full on, and also crazy to think we nearly played half our season or half our Big Bash season in 9 days. But we got through, mostly all unscathed. And then which is really exciting, brought in our new Tigers head coach of Jude Coleman. So we played 2 WNCL games just before Christmas at home in Tassie against New South Wales, and we had a 10-wicket win and then one with 2 bonus points, which was kind of a nice welcome for Jude to come into the team. She's been amazing to have around. She has such a calming presence, and like whenever she speaks, I just want to listen to everything she says. So it's been really cool to get to know her and kind of have her on board. And then Christmas, had a bit of a break, and now the girls are currently playing right now, which we are bowling, and Queensland are 2 for 65 after 17.
Yeah, live update.
Queensland. Yeah, live updates on the TV. Had to mute it so you guys could listen to me talk.
Brilliant. But now talking about Jude, as you mentioned there, now she moved mid-season for the WNCL, which is rather odd. You know, she obviously was with South Australia, which lost her to you guys last year, and then to move over like mid-season is, I think it's very odd. So what was that like? Because it's like she's had to switch her mindset from wanting to get South Australia the win and winning with South Australia to then we're winning with Tasmania now. So what's that been like within the team for you and for her as well, you know, if she's expressed her mindset there?
I think I guess if any time was going to be the right time to move over, it would have been straight after Big Bash, because we'd just played in a franchise cricket tournament and kind of WNCL had been parked. So it's nearly like, unfortunately enough for Tasmania, we had only played 2 WNCL games. So she has now got us for the bulk of the WNCL season. And I think everything just happened so quick and fast. Like the start of WNCL feels like it's so long ago. I think it was really brave by her, because it can't have been an easy decision, because obviously she's been at South Australia for a while now. She's from Queensland originally, but I guess like you've got to take that risk. And if she wanted to be a head coach, it's kind of like, well, you don't know when that opportunity is going to come up again. So I think, and also having Sal kind of go through the interview process and kind of being able to nearly handpick our next head coach probably kind of shows the belief that Sal has, because she's picked someone to fill this role for this season and seasons to come. So I think that's really exciting. And I hope we've made her feel really welcome and made her feel like we've supported her. And I have no doubt, like the person she is in the brief time I've spent with her so far, I have no doubt the South Australian girls would have wished her well as well. Like she's just a great human.
Yeah, and if it's the final, if the final comes back down to you guys again, that's going to be extremely interesting, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, because South Australia won with a super over the other night.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I know. It's been a pretty crazy tournament, and like you said, you've had some really good wins so far, losing no wickets the other day. So yeah, it's been pretty amazing. But for you, like returning, I guess from multiple injuries by the sounds of it, how was that transition back into cricket? You know, was it maybe a pretty tough one to because you were out for 2 seasons, I think it was, when we last spoke. So was that transition back into playing, you know, relatively consistent cricket easy, or was it maybe a bit trickier?
It's hard because there's always that little setbacks here and there, and especially kind of with my injury history that I've had, there's like it's never going to go away. Like I'm kind of always in rehab sort of thing, making sure I can maintain what I need to make sure I'm giving myself the best opportunity to kind of get out on the park. So I guess like I'm used to having all the little niggles of like hamstring tears, quad tears, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, which is kind of all related to my knees. But like I had a stress reaction in the preseason. I was just like, this is so different. And it was like, I could still do everything. I just had a really sore foot. And so I think I found that the hardest, because it was like kind of when you do a soft tissue injury, like there's things you physically can't do. And it was like I started training and I was waiting for my results to come in, and I bowled in the nets, and I won the competitive net session, and then it came to fielding and physio called me in, and then I've walked out in a moon boot, and everyone's like, what? But it was like a shock, I guess, but like having the support that I do at Tassie, and also having been through an ACL, it's good because I know what I need from an emotional support point of view and from a physical support point of view, and I've got a really good relationship with the physio and the S&C that we can make it work. So like emotionally or mentally from having a tough day, like we've got the bare minimum that we need to tick off to make sure my rehab is progressing, but the other little things are kind of flexible. So there was a stage where I was bowling off my knees, and it wasn't very realistic, but it was like, it still made me feel like I was training, I guess. So it was like credit to the staff that put up with me when I'm injured all the time, and also still believing in me. But being able to have that support kind of, I guess, is what really gets me through.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a very supportive environment down at Tasmania, and that would help coming back from an injury. Now, going back to March, going back to the WNCL, the final, obviously you spoke about it before a little bit, which you won. Given that it was against South Australia and you are back on the podcast, I guess Lily's over it now. But could you just take us back to that day and how much that meant really for not only Tasmanian cricket, but for Tasmania in general, because it was quite a monumental occasion.
Yeah, it was amazing to be a part of. And it's like, I don't think it's sunk in. And I think for the players that have kind of been with Tasmania through kind of all the hard times when they first entered the WNCL competition, like it was amazing to see how much they also loved it and how much they're all still a part of it as well. And having someone like a Sasha Maloney who has been through it all and has finally won a title, like it's crazy to think that there are some amazing players in WNCL that have never won a title. So that was also Elise Villani's first WNCL title that she's won. And it's like crazy to think someone who's had such a successful career and is very well known has also not had that taste of success. And I think that's something that I probably also took for granted coming from New South Wales, and being fortunate enough to be a part of, I guess, that winning team, and being around it and in that environment. I guess it kind of was like, oh, and I was very naive, I guess, but like the support that we got from the wider community was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly seems like it, because this year you're flying as well. A couple of games in hand on Queensland, who you're currently playing now, was where we got the live update from you before. Do you think that title win was able to spur you on and give you momentum heading into the season? Because clearly it's looking like it's all going well.
I definitely think so. And I think that belief is there. So I feel like when I first moved down and everything was new, everything was changing and kind of heading in the direction of creating a really high performance environment, there was still kind of that, oh, we played a good game of cricket, but we still lost. And I'm like, no, girls, we can win these games. What do you mean? What do you mean? And it's like seeing that hunger in the girls now after we've all had that taste, and then having players that want to move interstate now to come and be a part of our program, like, is something I'm really proud of to be a part of. And also like just shows the amazing work that Sal's done for the last 4 years or 5 years down in Tassie, especially for female cricket, and kind of setting up the pathway system as well. Because when I first moved down here, there wasn't much, and now we're slowly building, and like there's some exciting girls coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I guess going on to this upcoming bit of WNCL now, personally for you, I guess, what would be your goals for the rest of this WNCL season? Maybe you personally, I know as a team it's probably to go back to back, but yeah, for you, what would you say that you're aiming for the rest of this season?
To not be injured. No, I think just to get out there and have fun. Like, it's such a great team to be a part of, and I really enjoy playing with these girls. So I think for me it's like we need to not get complacent, I guess. Like, we've played some good games of cricket already, but it's like everyone else has played amazing games of cricket as well. Like, I feel like it's not, you don't walk out onto a field and it's like we're definitely going to win. I think we still want that hunger and we want that fight. And then for me it's just making sure I'm doing everything I can to stay out on the field. Like, it'll be great to get through the end of the season and having played majority of the games and then being like, right, I can have my time off, but I'm coming back and we're going to smash this preseason and we're going to be back again. And I think just making sure we're all on that same wavelength of like what our end goal is and how we're getting there, because it's going to be different for each individual player. Also, Queensland are 4 for 74 now. Laura Harris is now in.
Oh, it's gonna be interesting. She's had a pretty good one, hasn't she, so far?
She's unbelievable.
Yeah. But just listening to you there, I guess something that I've picked up is how incredible your mindset is around cricket. Now, you've obviously been through lots and lots of injuries. You've been out, you've been in. How have you managed to stay so positive throughout this time? Because speaking on it, you've still stuck with the team. How do you keep such a positive mindset throughout all these injuries? Because it must be really, really tricky.
I mean, I'm not always this positive. You just got me on a good day. I think, like I've been through a lot, but the hunger has always been there to still play. So I think kind of, I've joked about like if my next serious injury, like that could be that could be me in retirement. But it's like I'm not writing that off until the hunger isn't there anymore. So it's like I want to keep playing while I can, and then also if something does happen to me, like, and I can sit down and be like, okay, no, I've given everything 100%. I'm content now. And I think until then, like, I'm going to keep doing my rehab, unfortunately. But I think also the support network, like down here, my family, like mum and dad was so supportive of me. One, moving to Sydney to play with New South Wales and Thunder, and then two, moving to Tassie because I wasn't getting consistent games, or I wasn't selected consistently, being like, okay, well, why don't you try something else? And then coming down here, and it's been great. It's just been a great experience in general.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful, and it's brilliant to see you keep on going, and hopefully it's many more seasons to come. But then to go to Big Bash, I guess, like we briefly mentioned before, I think for you, your first Big Bash game back, everyone was super excited. Your teammates, you, the people watching, I was, because we'd know how much it meant for you to make your Big Bash return. So what was it like to play T20 again, play for the Hurricanes, after being on the sidelines for a couple of years? What was it like to finally get back out on the pitch for the Hurricanes?
It was really nice to play my first game at Blacktown International, which was a bowler-friendly wicket. I think like I was a nervous wreck. Like I felt sick the whole time, but it was nice to also play like in my home state where like mum and dad could easily come down and watch and just have them there and know, like, it was kind of like as soon as I saw them, like I was looking for them the whole time. And like as soon as the gates open, I didn't see them. I was like, what they doing? But to see them there and then kind of know like everything, like it's going to be okay. And it's just another game of cricket. And just, it's like, yeah, it was my first game at Big Bash back in 2 years, but it's like, I had played so much cricket in between that as well, like from club cricket to WNCL to everything, and had also been a part of some amazing experiences in that as well. So it's like looking back and how stressed and nervous I was, it's kind of like, oh, that was really silly, Maisy, because it was another game of cricket and you were fine. And then it's like you got through the whole season, like everything was okay. But I guess it's like, oh yeah, when you kind of, I guess, separate it from the different tournaments, it's like, oh no, it's been 2 years. Yeah. But it's like in between that, you've played so much cricket, you're fine.
Yeah, completely understandable.
I suppose it's one of those things as well that you've got to build yourself back up, I suppose, as well, after returning from injury, because it's one of those things that you've got to almost go back to square one, which I think it's one of those things that your mindset's hold you in good stead to the point where it's all right because you're good at building yourself back up from square one. But is it one of those things that you sort of prepared for it now? That sounds like a really not a great way to put it, but you've had so many injuries that you're just so good at bouncing back.
I think I just know like what I need and how to get basically from not playing back to playing, and kind of what that looks like. And for some people, it also looks very different. Like, I guess I'm at the stage now where it's like I now don't have to go home to mum and get kind of that support. I know I've got it even though I'm still in Tassie, and just backing all the 8 years of being contracted. Like you don't lose it overnight. Like I might not bowl for 4 weeks, but that doesn't mean in 4 weeks' time I don't know how to bowl. Like, I guess, yeah, it is being prepared and also knowing I've been there, I've done it, and now like I can do it again.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a negative mindset, but not really as well.
I don't think negative is the word I'd use to describe your mindset. I think I'd call it the polar opposite, to be honest. But yeah, the absolute polar opposite. But yeah, moving on slightly, you've played with some top tier international players this year, the likes of Lizelle Lee, Mignon de Priya, Hayley Ensign, and you've even had Lizelle play state cricket for Tasmania as well, which I think surprised quite a lot of us on the outside. But what was it like to play alongside them? And is there anything you've picked up from those players and perhaps some more in particular?
I guess just the experience they have, like Hayley Jensen especially, I roomed with her a few times throughout Big Bash, and nothing phases her. And it's like, oh, you like, she'd bowl a bad over, but it's bad over, and I get stressed that I potentially will have to come back on. But like, I look at them all and it's like nothing phases them, and it's like they're there and they're genuinely enjoying cricket. And it's like, I look at someone like Elise Villani as well, like she enjoys playing, and again, like she gets out, she's very calm, she can move on from it very quickly. And it's like, I can't wait to get to that stage of my career where it's like, I just love playing this game, and kind of, you know, it looks like they don't feel the pressure, which I'm sure they do, but the way they handle it internally, it's like, I just want to know all your secrets. Like, how do you do that? But then all the different experiences they've had, and all like playing all over the world. Like Hayley had come, and it's weird to think like she was a part of the bronze medal match. Like she's got a bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games, and then she got picked up to go to the Caribbean Premier League, and then she came straight into Big Bash. And it was like, she's like, I've not been home for, I think it was like consistently home for like 7 months or something. And I was like, I don't know how you do it. But I guess she's also got that support network that I talk about, and it's like that helps her do what she loves, but also do it really well.
It must be
Absolutely
exhausting traveling like that, because like I fly from Adelaide to Sydney and I feel sick, so I don't know how people can do
You
constant.
get jet lagged. I'm convinced I get jet lag going from, well, Eastern Standard Time or Sydney time, whatever it's called, to Perth. The next day I just feel like I feel disgusting, and I'm like, I'm definitely jet lagged. And then vice versa coming home. But coming home is not too bad, because then like you get home and then you can just go straight to bed and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I don't know if it's a thing.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I definitely agree. And yeah, international travel is even worse. But yeah, so I guess from this point now, obviously still recovering here and there and playing cricket. I remember last year your goals were to get back to playing cricket and to play consistent cricket. So what, at this point, what are your goals? Is that still something that one of your long-term goals is? Or yeah, what would you say are your goals?
Yeah, I would say yes, because there's always been little niggles here and there. Unfortunately, I broke my thumb in the last WNCL game. So like physically, other than a broken thumb, I feel great. So like, it's just in that time frame where it was too close to turn around and try and play, because if it got hit, I'd need surgery, and then it was like, that was the end of the season for me. So I guess for me, it's just making sure from here on in, which is, it sounds really weird, but for a broken bone, you just have to let it heal. So like, I can still bowl. I can't bat or field at the moment, but like I can still bowl, I can gym, I can run. And that feels really nice. It's not like I'm going to have to build that time on legs back up. I'm just going to have to ball in hand in the field and just hit a few balls. And then it's just resting my hand. So it's like, it's quite nice in a way. Like the rehab that I'm doing, it's not anything added on extra to what I was already doing to try and maintain strong quads, hamstrings, whatever. It's just rest your thumb, let it heal, you'll be fine. And like, that's what the physio said to me. And I was like, this is great. I was like, this is so good. After I was like stressed about it all, she goes, all you have to do is wait. And I'm like, done. Yeah, see you in Canberra, hopefully.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, like hearing all this stuff about your injuries, I feel like, you know how people in goal, like the goalkeepers in hockey, you know how they wear like all that, just that huge.
That's what I need.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Just everything, just big pads, helmets, just everything.
And I used to be like, no, like you don't need to wrap me up in bubble wrap. Like it's fine. And now I'm kind of like, I'm 26. I feel like I'm 50, like in my joints. It's like, no, I need to now I start to listen to my body a bit more. And it's like, we're not going to jump today in the gym. We're going to just give it a rest. And then I talked to the SNC and he's like, yep, great. I'll give you something else. We'll still get those explosive movements. And it's like, it's amazing to have that, because it's like, which is why I find gym really interesting, because it's like we have set programs, but it's like if that's not working for you on that day, just change the exercise. It's still going to hit the same muscles and you're on your way. So it's like, that's pretty cool, and makes me very thankful that we've got like a full-time S&C in and around our program.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. But yeah, no, like, it sounds like, I guess we're on the way up. It's slowly we're getting there.
New year, new me.
Yes.
Sort of. Still injured.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thumb's not a great start when we're 6 days into the new year, but
In my defense, I did it last year, so
okay, well,
still new year, new me.
yes, okay, yeah, we'll
Just carrying over. Just
New
carrying
Year's,
injury over
New
into
Year's
the new year.
resolution is to stay out of the injury ward. Is that what I'm gathering?
We have like this thing on our training program, and it's like if you're green, like you're unrestricted, yellow is a bit modified, and then red, you're not training. And so when we came back to WNCL, when we had that structure again, my physio was like, it was really nice to take you out of the yellow, and now I'm back in the red. But it's like, we'll have that conversation again. It'll be great.
baby steps.
Small wins.
Yes. But yeah, no, look, like we said, it's been brilliant to catch up with you again. I know it's been quite a year for you and your cricket, so it's wonderful to have heard what's happened over the past year. But yeah, I think that's all we've got. So thank you very much for joining us again, and all the best with all your recovery again. I know we're saying this time last year, but yeah, all the best. Enjoy the rest of the game today.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
So that was Maisy Gibson, obviously the first guest on Howzat the Cricket podcast. And obviously the podcast has changed a lot from when she was first on to now, but it was great to have her back on. And obviously, as Lily said, pretty much off the top, it was a pretty sentimental one for you, especially given that obviously she was the first one. So it was great to speak to her, but we shall move on to the second little mini interview of the podcast today, this podcast episode, special one, of course. We'll move on to a personal favourite of yours, Lily, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah, obviously being an ex-striker, a long-time striker. When we spoke to her originally, she was a striker. She's not anymore. She's moved to the Renegades. And that was definitely a tough pill for me to swallow, being a long-time Strikers fan. But yeah, to chat to her again was wonderful. To hear how her cricket's been since she's moved from the Strikers to the Renegades has been, quite a roller coaster for us and for her. So yeah, brilliant to chat to Sarah. So enjoy our mini interview with Sarah Coyte. Well, it's great to see you again, first off. Do you mind just starting off by telling us where you are at the moment and how you've been with all your cricket?
Yeah, so I am currently in Elise Villani's house in Tasmania. Elise Villani and Nick Carey's house. They're putting me up for a little bit. So I've been here for, I think about 10 days now, but we head off to Canberra tomorrow. So I've got to pack all my stuff tonight. So we're heading to Canberra. We've got 2 games against the ACT there for the one-day competition. And I think we're currently sitting first alongside SA, actually. So we're doing pretty well. We train 3 times a week, and then I played some grey cricket on the weekend here, filled in for a team. And yeah, just kind of trying to stay up to date with work and stuff while I've been away.
So you mentioned obviously WNCL. Now, like you said, it's been a very good start for Tasmania. Looking to defend the last year's title, which was a pretty cool game. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, how have you found this year's WNCL? Obviously, like I said, first, won loads of games. How's it all been for you?
It's been good. Coming off the back of Big Bash is always a tricky time of year, because you finish Big Bash and then it's either you've got a round before Christmas or you've basically got almost the entirety of December off. So yeah, it's been nice to change the format and spend some time with the girls in Tassie. I've been lucky this year that I've been able to get over to Tassie and spend a couple of days before we actually play and stay with Junior and Nick and actually train with the group. So, and obviously with Jude Coleman being our new head coach, it's been nice to be around the group and have Jude structure our training and meetings and things like that. So, yeah, it's a nice change from Big Bash, but yeah, like I said, it's been nice to be here and actually train and be around the girls.
Yeah, no, that's good. And talking about Jude, now she wasn't the coach in the first half. She was with the Scorpions. So has that been a
Yeah.
bit odd having a new coach halfway through a tournament?
No, not really. Actually, it's been quite a smooth transition. I mean, obviously Dan Marsh is dearly missed, but he's on to the Aussie stuff, which is great for him and great for the Aussie girls. But I think Jude was always meant to coach her own team. Like, she's so knowledgeable, and I think her being at Tassie is such a good get for us, actually. And when she did come in the beginning of December, actually, when she moved over, I think she slotted in nicely. All the values and the way the girls train and the environment that it is exactly who Jude is as a person anyway. So it was really seamless, actually, I would say.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And if we move on to the WNCL, obviously a brilliant moment for you, obviously playing for Tasmania at the time, playing at the Strikers at the time, and obviously coming up against SA in the final. What was that like? Was it interesting playing against some of your Strikers teammates in the final and crossing the white line and, going to war for that, or in a cricket sense, for that final?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's always tricky when you play against teammates on another team. And I mean, it doesn't matter at the end of the day how well I know them or how well I know their game or how well they know mine. At the end of the day, we've got to get one more run than they make. So even knowing how they play and them knowing how I play, it was always going to be who kind of was better on the day. And I think Elise Villani and Emma Mannix-G's both hit hundreds in the final. So I didn't even take a wicket. So I mean, it wasn't my best day out, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the team that I'm playing for, we all had that same collective goal to get that championship, and we did. We just played really well as a team. Our batting performance to chase that down. I mean, Courtney Webb from memory got 50 odd or something for them, and she was pumping us all over the park. So they sort of had some momentum towards the back end of their innings, and then for us to go out and have both of our openers score hundreds was huge. So yeah, it's always tricky when you play against your teammates, but they're not my teammates anymore.
The last time we spoke was obviously before the finals. And I remember saying to you, I was like, imagine if it's a South Australia Tassie final, how cool that'd be. And you're like, yeah, that'd be super cool. And look what happened. It happened. You ended up coming out on top. So that must be, pretty funny and just a good memory to look back on, I guess, winning that WNCL.
Yeah, it was a good memory. We often bring it up and discuss like that brand of cricket that we played, but just also like that, defending a championship does create a bit of pressure, and we sort of, it's not about last year, it's about this year, and it's a clean slate each year. So we're just looking to play a good brand of cricket, and, we are sitting equal first with them at the moment, I think, but there's still 6 games of cricket to be played before any finals, and we've still got to play 2 against them. So it should be a good finish to the season.
Yeah, no, it certainly will. It'd be interesting if we get another Tasmania South Australia final. Wouldn't be surprising if, as it looks at the minute, with those two sides, playing some wonderful cricket.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Tassie SA final. It's kind of looking like it might be out of us and potentially Vic as well, in amongst that, us, Vic and SA maybe. So, like I said, it should be a good race to the finish line in terms of the round games, and then we'll see who comes up trumps.
It's like deja vu, this conversation, isn't it? We had this time last year. Same thing. Brilliant.
Yeah,
obviously, you didn't go back to the Strikers after winning the WNCL against South Australia. But did you have any chance to give any stick to any of the South Australia players, or did you just keep it quiet?
No, I just keep it quiet. I don't really talk too much smack on the field. Off the field, we'll have a bit of a joke, but no, I kind of just keep it quiet and we just go about business as usual. Because I mean, like I said, there's still another season, there's still more games, and the more trash I talk, the more I have to back it up. So I just stay quiet.
Probably a good way to go about it in all
Yeah.
fairness.
Yeah, play it safe.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you stuck around at the Strikers for a long while before moving on to the Renegades before the start of the recent WBBL season. Was that a tough decision for you, leaving a club that you've spent a long time with? And why did you feel that it was the best decision to move down to Melbourne?
Yeah, it was a hard decision. I mean, I'd been a striker for so long. I mean, the only time I'd played elsewhere was 4 games for Sydney when I wasn't actually even playing cricket. So it was a tough decision, but at the end of the day, it's, for me to grow as a cricketer and to get out of my comfort zone is something I thought that I needed to do, and a new environment, new coaching, new ways of thinking about the game and approaching the game. I think, we didn't have a great season at the Renegades, but I definitely come out a better cricketer from it. So yeah, it was tough, but I'm happy that I made the move just because of that period of 6 weeks that made me a better cricketer, not in terms of performance or anything like that, but just knowledge of the game and the way that other people see it and other coaches coach, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, geographically, it's probably moving up to Melbourne, but you get the point.
Up, down.
Yeah,
I always get it confused.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, well, it turned out, that the Renegades didn't have their best season and the Strikers went on to win it, which obviously spent so much time with the Strikers. Was that, a bit, how was that sort of watching the Strikers, teammates of yours for multiple years, go on and win it, and you're just sitting there on the sidelines watching them do it at North Sydney?
Well, I mean, personally, honestly, I knew Strikers would have a good season. They've been one of the most consistent teams and one of the teams that really hasn't changed a hell of a lot over the past couple of years, with the exception of an international player maybe. But that core group has sort of been together for a long time, and Luke has done really well coaching them. And it was always going to be tough for them, I thought, to beat Sydney at North Sydney. A home final, but I mean, the way that they've been playing and their bowling attack was always going to be a vital part of that final. And it was interesting to see that Sixers kind of took the gas a bit. I thought that their lineup against the Strikers lineup, it was the best in the world versus the best in the world, or well, the best in the state really, or the country, whatever. But I'm happy that they won it. I'm not happy I wasn't part of it, but yeah, like I said, that core group of girls had been together for a long time, and the year before we come second, and then they went on to win. So it's they learned how to play the final, and I guess from playing that final against Scorchers, took it into the final this year against Sixers, and they learned how to win one. So well done to them. They had an outstanding season.
Yeah, it must be I guess quite frustrating in a way, because you would have been, through that final with them, in the Scorchers season, then against the Heat a couple of years before, and then it, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, of course it happens. As soon as you go, as soon as you go, they win it. That must be, just pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I guess in a way, but I mean, at the end of the day, I made the choice to move clubs. I didn't have to, but I made that choice. So I can be as frustrated as I want, but I should be more frustrated with the way that my season went with my team, which is exactly what it is. I'm not frustrated Strikers won it, because they were consistently very good over the competition, where we were consistently not very good. So I mean, when it comes down to it, that's basically the reality of this situation.
No, that makes sense. And then I guess, kind of looking forward now, one of your goals, I assume, would be to kind of get over the line with Tasmania. But I remember this time last year when we were speaking, you weren't sure how much longer you're going to be playing cricket for and what your future kind of looks like. Do you have a bit more of an idea of what's going to happen now from this point on, I guess?
I thought I did, but now I'm not so sure. I mean, I'd love to, like, my body and where I'm at mentally and physically and things like that is fine. I'm in a really good place. You know, my body feels really good. It's strong, it's healthy. But it's just, yeah, I don't know, like T20 cricket, I'm still contracted with Renegades. But, you know, if I was to keep playing for Tassie, it'd mean I'd have to move down to Tassie, move whichever way. It would mean that I would have to move, therefore leaving a full-time job, and my partner in Adelaide. And I don't know if I can financially do that. And then kind of it's a weird position actually, because it's like, if I wanted to play cricket full-time again, what am I really playing for? Because, you know, my goal isn't to play for Australia, because I've done that. So I'm kind of in this weird predicament, because I'm loving playing and training, but it's also probably, do I pick up and move for 2 years and play and then go back? Or I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think it could be one of those things where, you know, it's like, do you see yourself maybe nearing kind of a close on like state cricket? Do you think like maybe like club cricket to keep yourself involved, or something like that, like district? I don't know how it works in other states, but is that something that you kind of see yourself doing afterwards, I guess?
It's a good question. I haven't thought too much about it. I have actually given some coaching a thought recently, about, like, you know, avenues and places that could take me, but it's still that kind of that fine line where I have to sort of really think about what I'm committing to, because it's kind of like I don't want to go down the path of it ruining my life again. So I kind of it's really strange predicament I'm in, and I'm trying to figure it out. It's not going well, but I'm trying to. I would still love to be involved at some capacity, whether that's coaching or even coaching a grade team or something like that, but I just don't know what that looks like yet.
Well, maybe at 2 years of Howzat the Cricket podcast, we can get you back on for a third time, and then we can see where you're at then. And then
maybe I'll have some answers.
maybe. But it's been very nice to catch up with you today. Thank you for coming on again. It's
No
brilliant to have you again.
Thank you, and congratulations on the year.
Yes.
Very cool.
Thank you so much.
So that was Renegades bowler Sarah Coyte.
So that just about wraps up part 1 of our 1 year special. Obviously, it was great to chat to Maisy and Sarah in part 1. Now, make sure you have a listen to part 2, because in part 2, we have a speak to Ella Hayward and Georgia Redmayne. Stay tuned for that. It should play straight after this one, so we hope you enjoy that one. Thanks for listening.
Howzat?